good morning, good day, and good evening. I am, as always, your host, Brody Robertson, and today I had planned to have a guest on. So I don't want to say who it was going to be. It's one of the guests that's coming up in a future week, probably next week. Next week, there's going to be a guest. Uh, when I tried to arrange people for this time, because I had a couple of people scheduled forward. When I tried to arrange people for this week, I don't know what it is about this specific week. So right now I'm recording this on August 11th, Thursday, August 11th, 2022, in case you're watching this in the future. And everybody I tried to contact was like, hey, I'm happy to do the podcast, but I can't do that week. Hey, I'm happy to do the podcast, but I can't do the only day I can do that week. Like, what is it about this week? Why is everybody busy? Nothing has happened. Like, is there anything happening this week? I was thinking, wait, is it like 4th of July week? And no, 4th, that's like a month. That's like a month ago. That doesn't make any sense. Could it be like, what the hell? Nothing happens in August. Why is everybody busy this specific week? Anyway, it's fine. So we'll just do this solo episode. I've been wanting to do one again for a while because we did have a couple of weeks off, 2 or so weeks. How many episodes did we do without with the guest? I want to say 2 or so. So there's been a lot of stuff sort of going on or in the background, things like that. And I wanted to just do a video where we talk about just, shit that's going on. One of the things you probably notice if you're watching the video version, obviously you're not going to notice in the audio version, is I have a slightly different, color profile to my camera is one way you might describe it. So I've actually changed out my lights. Previously, I was using a set of Neewer 176s. These are really, really nice lights. If you want to have some, good entry-level lights, I'll bring up a picture right now. These are very nice. I highly, highly recommend them. I had them for oh, I've got one right here. I've had them for I want to say 2 years, maybe? I don't know. If you go back earlier in my my podcast, I probably mentioned when I got them the first time. You probably would have noticed because my lighting got considerably better when, I wasn't using sunlight or a light in my face to light myself up, things like that. These are great. I highly recommend them. But one of them decided to kick the bucket, and that was a problem. So I actually have 3 of them. So I would have had 2 in front of me, and then I've got one. This is the one that goes up on that stand back there, not the one with you can see a little clip on it. The other one that goes out of the frame. That's the one I use when I'm lighting up my face for doing my screenshots, thumbnails. When I'm doing my thumbnails. So I can always just have one sitting back there. But if I didn't replace the ones I had up here, I would then have to move that one back and forth. And I just didn't want to do that. The reason why I have my lights, set up on stands, I have my camera on a stand, I have my microphone on a stand, is because I just want to have everything set up the way it should be and then start recording. I just didn't want to deal with that. Plus, I'd been wanting to get new lights for a while just so I can try out slightly different lighting because these things, they're great, but they're quite limited in how you can use them, especially with the distance I have in my room. So because they're so small, they can only put out so much light, and because they're so small, the light's going to be in a very tight-knit pattern, which is fine if you're happy to blind yourself, or if you have your lights in a position where, you're not looking directly in them. But my main light is, above my camera. So when I'm looking at my camera, I basically always have to have that in my face. By having the new lights I have, which are also Neo lights, I got the Neo lights because they would fit the, what are they, MPFF, what are the MPF? NPF 550s. These are one of the sets of lights that batteries that Neewer uses. I got the Neewer 660, which is basically the same thing, but a bigger variant. Let's find a good picture of those. I'm not going to take one of them down. I only have 2 of them. So I'm not going to take one down, I'll just show you a picture of it. Here we go. This should work. There are actually a couple of variants of this. So this one's not showing it properly because it also comes with a diffuser. So this little plastic sheet right here that basically if you don't have that there, like you can use it like a light like this, but it's going to give these like really harsh shadows. And that might be a look that you're going for, but as a general rule, you typically want to soften your shadows so they don't look like as distinct in the shot. This has a diffuser as well, for whatever reason, not showing it here. But it's like a much bigger panel. So if we go by the size of this, which I guess for reference is the size of like a regular size smartphone, like a 6-inch smartphone. A little bit smaller and like a, I guess, lengthways, a bit higher in this way. It's about, I would say, 4 of these in like a grid pattern. And it's not 660 white bulbs. This one, there are different there's a one that has like RGB bulbs in it, but this one is a bicolor light. So you have 330 white bulbs and then 330 orange bulbs. So unlike these where you get one color, the color you get is basically either the color of the bulbs or the color of the gel you're using. In this case, I'm just using a basic diffuser, but it comes with like an orange sheet you can go with it as well. And there's like, you can get third-party ones that actually, we'll have a look right now. I'm almost certain you can buy like third-party ones for them. Neewer 176 gels, or it might even be like a standard size. Because there are other yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there are places that will... Wait, I just saw them and they disappeared. What the hell? Where'd they go? Here we go. Here we go. On Neewer's website, you can get these guys right here. I don't know if it's for the same device or it's for a different model. Oh no, this is literally just a bit of cellophane. Or you could just get some cellophane. That's your other option. And that will change the color of the light. With this one, though, the main thing isn't changing the color of the light, it's changing the color temperature. So I think it supports a range of 3200 Kelvin to, I want to say 5800 Kelvin. That sounds right to me. And depending on where you, like how much orange you have in there, it's going to shift you more towards the higher side of that. I do have a little bit of orange in there just because I found that without the orange, my face I looked deathly ill. I think that's the best way to put it. So when you have the white light on your face, it's going to sort of drown out some of your features. Bringing the orange in there sort of brings bring a bit of that back. The other nice thing about these guys is I run my camera at 200 ISO. This is basically as high as I would really want to go with it, at least in like an indoor setting. Unless you'd like... Yeah, I wouldn't really want to go much higher than 200. The M200's not great with dark scenes anyway, and it tends to get fairly grainy. Raising that ISO up is going to make it even more grainy. But with these lights, I could actually drop my ISO down even further. I could record like 160 or 100, and these things put out so much light that I would still be able to make it actually function. Actually, I can show you what they look like with the overhead turned off. So normally I record with my ceiling light on just because if I don't, these things will light up the background a lot, but I'll show you. They sort of put too much light back there to really do anything useful. Like, if it was really dark, I could put like... I guess I probably could make it work with some LEDs back there or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe if I drop the brightness of these, or that probably could partially deal with it. But as it stands, just running it as it is in the current setup, it's just too much brightness to really do a ton with. Dropping the ISO could probably deal with that as well, and then this light wouldn't add as much. I don't know. There are ways that I could deal with it. I'm just not good with cameras. I'm by no means a camera or lighting expert. Basically all of my knowledge when it comes to this subject is watching videos on YouTube. honestly, I highly recommend, like, if you're gonna start doing anything, like, whether it's YouTube or just anything involving cameras, take advantage of the resources that are already available. There is thousands upon thousands of hours explaining how to just make your lighting look reasonable. There was a video that I've seen a couple of times now. It comes up in my recommended every so often. Let's see if I just look up lighting in my history. Is it 3-point lighting setup, best lighting for YouTube videos tutorial? No, that's the one from Think Media. What was the one that I don't remember what it was called. There's this really, really good video that shows up in my recommendation every so often. If I can find it, I will probably put it in my description. But it's not showing up in my things at this moment. When was I looking at stuff? No, not the Cinnamon Toast Ken videos. Where is it? I don't think I'm going to find it. When I actually want to find something, I'm never able to actually find the video. It's got to be somewhere in here, and I'm just dragging this out as long as I can to make it so I might be able to find it, but it's definitely not happening. No, it definitely didn't happen. Huh, I know I watched it yesterday. I don't know why it's not in my my YouTube nonsense. Yeah, if I can remember what it is, I'll post about it or whatever. But yeah, just watch the content that's available, and you will, like, there's no point starting from scratch with, like, anything that you want to, really anything you want to do. Just take advantage of what's available. Here we go, found it. Oh, it's how to make a $300 camera look pro. Just take advantage of what's available, and it'll save you a lot of time. So this guy takes a shot that looks like this, which is basically how I would record my videos back when I first started on YouTube, and then takes it at the end to look like this, which is a very big upgrade. And to be honest, I probably could make, like, take advantage of having practical lights in the background like that to deal with the shadows. If I wanted to, like, make it dark back there. I kind of like having my entire room lit up, though. I don't mind it. I know I used to, like, the way I've changed my lighting over the years has, like, I've gone from completely blown out lighting that looks absolutely terrible to, like, I don't know if some of you guys have seen it. Like, I know there are probably some new-ish people here that haven't seen they didn't see my videos from, like, maybe, like, 2 years ago? Back when I first started using any sort of lighting. Let's see if we can find some of the early, not the shed videos, some of the early room stuff. So here we go. We went from 0 lighting. Back at this point, I would have been recording with daylight. Yes, so if it was a cloudy day, my lighting would look different. If it was a sunny day, it would look different. Every single time I recorded a video, it looked different. Did I have lighting at this point? Let's find the first time I had lighting. Where is it? There's got to be one in here. Do I have lighting by this point? No, this is just a sunny day. This is just still don't have lighting here, just a sunnier day. I got lighting at some point here. I want to show you how bad the lighting initially was. Okay, that's just putting shit in the background. Still no lighting. Man, I've made too many fucking videos. So a lot of these videos are 250 subs. Wow. Wow. Nope, still no lighting. How did it take me that long to buy a fucking lamp? What? Just look. Okay, yeah, we've changed rooms here, but I still didn't have any lights. Here's my basic suggestion. Buy a fucking lamp. It doesn't matter if you buy, like, studio lights. Just buy a lamp. Wait, is this it? Did I have the... I think No, that's just a bright. There was a point in time where I would light up my backdrop with just a blindingly white light, and that's the way I would keep things set up. Maybe I was at this point. Maybe I did have a lamp back there. Doesn't... I don't think I did. No, wait. No, there's a light. Ah, no, at this point, I would have had a light on the floor down here. Yeah, so that light would have been like pushing light up here. It looked so stupid. It was not a good idea to light it like that. I should just put it on my desk or something stupid. I didn't have much space back then, so I just didn't really know how to sort of handle it. Okay, we're at a year. Okay, so we're at a year ago now. I've got my... Yes, this is back when we went into colored lighting. Okay, so here is where the... Here's around where the swap happened. Yes, this is the last video without the colored lighting. We still have light on the floor, I think. But then I tried this. This was my very first attempt at doing, like... I think I would have had my face lights there. So, but I didn't have the ceiling light on. Yeah, I didn't have the ceiling lights. Oh, no, because that's the one where I actually bought the lamps. That's the video. Yeah, okay. That's the video where I actually had the lamps that I was going to be using, or the globes I was using. Oh, at that time, the globe was in the ceiling. Yeah, okay. Now I remember. Was it at this... When did I have my background blindingly lit up by... Here we go. Here we go. This is where I think I had my camera here. I'd upgraded from the C920, but it was like, I didn't know how to use the camera yet. And my background was lit up with a fucking lamp on my bed. And I was doing a hair... This is when I just discovered the concept of a hair light. And I had it, like, so close to me and so bright. It just... There's obviously something I'm trying to do here, but I did it so badly that it doesn't even matter. I think it got a bit better from there, questionably. Like, probably not super great. But I guess you could say maybe better, maybe worse. Wait, show me a full face. I don't know if this is actually better or worse, to be honest. Why is my camera so high, though? That's one thing. Man, this room was so fucking small. There was so little room to do anything. I don't know. That's enough of me ranting about lights. Maybe I should go and like try out something different with this space now that I actually have the room. Because I do have some LED strips. I could put them up in the cabinet over there. And that could possibly... I think that could possibly work out pretty well. If I took the time to do it properly. I don't know. I kind of like the way it looks right now. I am still adjusting the way the light, like these new lights look and the way my camera handles them. So I swapped over to like auto white balance right now so the camera can deal with making sure the whites look properly. Because I spent probably like 20 or 30 minutes trying to adjust the white balance manually and never getting it to like a point where I was happy. So the problem with adjusting the white balance manually is where my light's located. It's also where my camera's located. It's right in front of the light. So every time I adjust anything on the camera, I need to be looking at the light. And when you look at the light, it's going to like, mess with your eyes and mess with what you think a accurate looking white is. I don't know why I didn't just rely on auto white balance, from the start in the first place. But now that I am, it's much easier to deal with. Definitely much easier to deal with. Oh, God. I'm looking through some of these videos here. I'm seeing if I can find anything else. Any other fun change up in the way I handled stuff? Oh, this is the one bit where I had the lights different colors. Wow. For the record, I think I did actually have... Wait, or was this... Was this the camera or was this the C920? I think this... I don't know what I had at this point, actually. Maybe I didn't have the, Maybe I did... Wait. Maybe I did have the C9... Sorry, the camera already. I don't know. Or is this the camera? Wait. No, this is definitely the camera here. Yeah, if I have this mic, I have the camera, because I ordered them around the same time. I think, yeah, before it wasn't. I just been pushing the C920 sort of to its absolute limits. Yeah, a little bit too much on the C920. You can actually get that webcam looking really good if you spend an exorbitant amount of time messing with settings and then put yourself in a situation where you have consistent lighting. Like, if you're trying to use the C920 with sunlight, or you're trying to use it in a office or something like that, it's basically never gonna look good. Like, okay, C920 is never gonna look really good, but it's never gonna look, like, usably good. But if you're in a controlled lighting environment, like if I was using it with these lights, for example, and I, like, obviously tweaked them a bit for the C920, and then I messed with the C920 settings for, like, too long, I could probably get it looking pretty good. But at the end of the day, like, an actual camera is going to look better, but to be honest, your phone, if you have a modern phone, is going to look better anyway. Like, maybe not my phone, because my phone's a little bit shit, but if you've got yourself, you know, I don't know, anything from the past, like, 4 or 5 generations of iPhones, or 4 or 5 generations of, like, top-end Samsung devices, or OnePlus, or anything like that, like, it's gonna look really good. Better than any webcam. I've sort of changed my opinion on webcams. I maybe I've mentioned this, I don't know. I don't think that people should buy a webcam. I think you're much better off just using your phone and then using that with, like, Droid Cam or something like that. Maybe I've said this, I don't know. But even if, actually, honestly, even buying a camera, I think it might be better off, if you're gonna buy a camera, to buy a camera that's not an entry-level camera. Like, I like my M200, but if I went back in time, the way I would have instead recorded my videos on my phone, or, like, with my phone camera, and then bought a camera when I wanted to go to something like the Canon R series or something like that. Just because it's such a bigger upgrade then, and the baseline with a phone camera is just so high. Now, when I say phone camera, please don't use your phone microphone. You don't do that. Phone microphones are designed to be used at, like, this distance, not at, like, I've got my camera about a meter away, which is too far for a mic like that. It's gonna sound like ass. Even something like a gaming headset is going to sound better than a phone microphone at, like, 1.5 meters away. Don't get a gamer head. Unless you already have one, don't do that, though. Also, you don't need a C920, but, like, I like my C920. Buy just, you know, a pod mic or something like that. There are some really nice, like, $100, like, USB microphones. Blue Yeti is okay. Blue Yeti is a fine mic. It's just, okay, the thing with Blue Yetis is they have this, like, they have a brand appeal. It's like, say, the Elgato Stream Deck, or what's another good example? The Logitech G502 for a mouse, or I don't know what keyboard people care about, but there are always these devices in some sort of device class that are really good devices, but the reason why they sell so much is because of the brand recognition. Like, you buy a Blue Yeti, and you know what you're getting. You buy a G502, you know what you're getting. You buy, I don't know, fucking, I can't think of any other examples, but, like, you know what I mean. You buy one of these well-known devices, then you know what you're getting. You buy a Corsair K70 or something like that, like a good keyboard, or whatever. You know what you're getting. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the best devices available in that device class. Maybe at a time they were. Like, there was a time when the G502 was so far ahead of every other gaming mouse. It was a fucking incredible device. There was a time when the Blue Yeti was so far ahead of other USB microphones because it was made at a time when streaming wasn't this big industry that it is nowadays, and there wasn't all of these devices that are available. But as time went on, it still remained the C920 for a webcam. There's another example. As time went on, there are devices that came out that don't have the same brand recognition, but are probably better value. Like for webcams, there's nothing better. Webcams are just shit. But for the microphones, the pod mic, the HyperX Quadcast, these things are much cheaper and the same or better quality. Plus, the Blue Yeti weighs a fucking ton. So the problem with the Blue Yeti is there are a lot of It's fine if you want to put it on your desk, but if you want to put it on a mic arm, there are a lot of mic arms that don't. They like specifically list that they don't support the Blue Yeti because it is such a heavy microphone that you need to have something like built with the Blue Yeti in mind. This thing would be fine because it's got these like lock-in joints that you can use, and I had my Blue Yeti on a fairly cheap stand, but it was a cheap stand that specifically mentioned we support the Blue Yeti. It's like, we use stronger springs so we can actually hold this microphone up. And it did it pretty well. It's just things you have to sort of keep in mind. Mice, I'm not super in on the mice market, but I know a lot of people, like, I know there's a lot of different types of mice for different types of people. I personally, like, I like my G305. Obviously, it's another Logitech mouse. I buy Logitech mice. When I say the G502 might not be the best mouse ever made, keep this in mind, I'm also a Logitech shill. Like, all of my mice are Logitech mice. So if I was going to buy another Logitech mouse, it'd probably be a G502. But there are other things out there that you also definitely might want to consider. Anyway, now that I've scared everyone away by talking about camera stuff and random other gear for like half an hour or so, let's talk about something, actually happening. I was going to talk about this literally at the start of the show, and then I got kind of sidetracked by other things. Yeah, that tends to happen. If you've never been here for an episode of podcast before, when I don't have a guest on, usually I'll just go down some tangent and follow it probably for a little bit too long. Let's talk about Midjourney. So, Midjourney is it's another one of these art generation tools. I might leave the link in the description down below. If you just look up Midjourney, you'll find the website. It's got this real sketchy looking website that, might scare you away if you're the sort of person who gets scared by the Microsoft wants to contact you about a virus on your computer. But it's a really cool tool, and I honestly feel bad for anybody who wants to get involved in like art as a career when they get older. I'll show you a couple of examples of things that I didn't generate myself, but have been generated inside of the Midjourney Discord. Even if you're not going to use Midjourney yourself, so you can use it on the free trial they have. Even if you're not going to use it yourself, I highly recommend that you just hop into the Discord, because there are some great images you can find that are just awesome for a wallpaper, if nothing else. So we have this one here. These ones I'm showing you right now are using a prompt about Final Fantasy XIV. So this one is Ultima Thule FF14 Edge of Creation Galaxy Planets. We have this one, FF14 Underwater Cityscape Epic Lighting. This one here is Ishgard Heavensward. They spelled Heavensward wrong, which is even funnier. FF14. This is the one I'm actually using as my wallpaper right now, and there are a bunch of others of these as well. We have this one here, we have this one here, we have this one here, which is like a dystopian AI future, like assembly line or something. Not really sure what's actually going on in this frame. This one here, and this one here. And these are just the ones that oh, sorry, one more. These are just the ones that I've personally got saved. There is thousands upon thousands of these pieces that you can find on the Discord. I think the Discord might get like cleared out every so often, so you might not like find some of them if you like go back and look for some of the ones I have here. If any of the ones that were shown there look like something you want, send me a message. I'll happily send it to you. So basically, the way that Midjourney works is you'll give it a prompt. So you might say something like laughing, crying emoji, and then it will spit out 4 different images that it will then ask you about. So you can either go and refresh all those images, you can upscale one of them, or you can make a variation on one of them. So if you make a variation on one of them, then it will take that one image and then, I guess, feed it back into the algorithm and spit out 4 images that are using that concept as a base, but are all different in their own way. And then if you like one of those, you can choose to upscale it. This is then going to get rid of the rest of the images and make a higher resolution version of that, which you can then do a couple of things with. You can choose to make variations on this image again, if you just happen to not like it, because maybe it changed with the upscaling bit and just with those extra details didn't look the way that you thought it would look. You can upscale it to max, which is going to upscale it to whatever its maximum resolution is. Or you can make... I think you could also... There's something else you could do. Oh, you could just report to the bot whether you like the result. So you could give it like a sad face, love heart, things like that, just to sort of help the algorithm grow in the way that people want the art to be. And the fun thing you can do, right? So the images that it spits out aren't the most high resolution. Like like this one here. This one here isn't like low res. I think it's like 1080p maybe. But if you look at it closely, you probably can't see on the video, but it is a little bit soft, a little bit blurry. So if you go and take this image and then stick it through an upscaler, like say Waifu 2X or any of the other upscalers out there, it is going to return some insane results. I didn't come up with the idea of upscaling it. One of the guys in my Discord, I sent this image over the Discord, and he sent me back a fucking 8K upscale. It was a 40 megabyte image. Like, why did you send this to me? So I went and, scaled it back down to 4K, which is more than enough. A 7 megabyte file, and it looks really good. Like, if I didn't know this was drawn by an AI, I would just assume it was like an interpretive painting of like Ishgard or something like that. And a lot of them are kind of like that. So, say like this path, for example, I could imagine someone actually painting this. Now, if you pixel peep on it, you can see that some of it looks a little bit wonky. Like, if you start looking at any of the more intricate details, like these branches here, mainly branches, anything you sort of expect to be like a certain shape, things don't tend to work out well. But when it's something where the shape is more ambiguous, like these rocks here, rocks can sort of be whatever shape, the leaves here, anything where it's like sort of splash of color also works really well. Like this just looks like someone hit the canvas with a paintbrush. Like nothing too surprising. And it's especially visible when it comes to faces. So faces, if they're in a certain art style, so you can be like, I want it to be drawn in the style of Picasso. I want it to be drawn in the style of a engineering diagram. It will generally do it fairly well. But if you let it sort of go free reign, that's when things might get a little bit weird. Like, you have eyes that look a little bit wonky. You have faces that just, they look good, but not good in the way that someone would paint it. It's good, but you can tell that it's not made by a person. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, if you start looking at some of this art yourself and you look at it really closely, it becomes really obvious that things aren't things aren't drawn by a person. Hands are where it gets really obvious. Hands are just hard to draw in the first place. Generating hands is even worse. And whenever there is a hand being generated, you'll spot it. There are very, very rare occasions where a generated hand looks good. But besides that, when you're just trying to get it to do some like concept art style stuff, which is a style that I kind of like, with this wallpaper I have, it looks really good. It looks really incredible. Other things that it does fairly well are when you're trying to go with like a realistic object. So I'll see if I can find any of them right now. But there are a lot of renders of like jewels, for example, or like jewelry, or there was a couple I saw last time which I can't find now, where it was a skull encrusted with gems. And if you pixel peeped, you could tell that it wasn't drawn by a person. However, if you didn't, or you upscaled it, or you were looking at it from like a distance, you couldn't really tell. I'm not finding anything right now. Yeah, I'm finding a bunch of other things. I should have saved those when I first saw them. Oh, here we go. Here is one of the pieces of jewelry. So it's not loading. Okay, here we go. So it's clearly not perfect. Like, you can kind of tell that some of the very intricate detail here looks a little weird. It looks very... I think the best way to put it is, when it comes to very high detail sections, it tends to, like, sort of smudge the details. Yeah, it just smudged them as opposed... Like, obviously, smudging stuff can be an actual style that you try to implement, but it smudges it in a way like... Not like a person would smudge something, but if you were to grab, like, the, I don't know what the tool is called in GIMP, but there's a tool where you can, like, blur things together. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's just taken a regular image and then sort of, like, blurred it up a bit, which does stand out a little bit. But the way I've been describing, like, Midjourney and DALL-E to people as well, both in sort of the same boat here, is these tools are to art generation like Pong is to video games. What I mean by this is, when these games, like when Pong first came out, or when Pac-Man first came out, when, let's even go a bit more into the future, when the first Street Fighter came out, when the first arcade cabinets came out, anything like that, these were incredibly impressive. Like, the ability to control something on your TV with a thing you have in your hand, that's revolutionary. But if you look back on what Pong is, it's very crude in what is possible. But compare this to, like look at comparing it to modern video games. Play something like Elden Ring. So comparing Elden Ring to Pong, there is this gigantic leap here. Nobody thought that when Pong first came out, that eventually one day you'd have something like Elden Ring. That's such a big jump, and I feel the same way about this art generation. What we have here looks incredible. This is Pong. This is the Pong of art generation. This is the very early stages where we are looking at it and we are being very impressed by what is possible. And I'm already of the mindset that for a lot of work, a lot of artists are going to be out of work in probably the next 5 years. Like when it comes to concept art, for example, there might be, like, a lot of the early concept art stuff might end up just being AI generation, and then you clean it up with a person. And when it comes to things like logo design, if you have a model that is designed around logo design, that's going to put a lot of that work completely out of business. Obviously, if you want to have, very specific things, like you want to have a VTuber model design, that stuff's still going to have to be done by a person for a very long time. But it's not safe forever. I know that some people want to think that, like, creative fields, those are going to be, like, when AI takes over all of the manual labor jobs, when AI is doing truck driving and, heavy lifting and running restaurants, all of that stuff, everybody can just do creative work. We're already seeing here that may not be the case. Now, there's a difference between doing something as a hobby and doing it as a career. Obviously, this will never take away from people, like, doing art as a hobby. But career art, I don't see sticking around, except for very edge cases, that long into the future. And the same's gonna happen. Like, people thought this would never be possible with art. I think the exact same is going to happen with music as well, especially now as we're getting better with things like deepfakes. When we get to the point where deepfaked audio is sort of indistinguishable from real world audio, why would we need why would we need people to be writing songs? Plus, you combine that with, like, GPT-3 and whatever models are out at the time for generating text. If you have a model designed entirely around writing lyrics. Combine deepfaking with a model that writes lyrics, and you can have yourself basically anything you want. There might still be a desire for sort of that human touch, that human level of crudeness, I guess, is probably, like, that human level of crudeness, that human level of roughness. You don't want to have it be perfect. But I don't think even in that case, it's still safe. Like, you could theoretically, if you have a complex enough model, deal with problems like that. I'm very worried for the future. Like, I am very excited and very worried for the future. There will definitely come a time where basically there's nothing. There is no work that cannot be done by an AI. There'll be work that maybe people want done by a human. Like, maybe you want to have a massage by a human just because you want to have, that human touch. Maybe you want to have human waiters because, you want to actually have people to talk to. Maybe you want to have, any other number of things you might want to have a human there for. But a good part of those industries is going to be automated through AI. From the consumer's perspective, from the regular person, it's an improvement. But I don't know whether it's a good idea to go down that path. I don't know whether it's a good idea to effectively automate the work out of the world. I don't like the people that compare it to, the Industrial Revolution. Like, when the AI takes all the work, then we'll just move on to other things. Hey, look, we don't need people, handling horses in a cart anymore because now they can drive trucks. But I just don't see it. I don't see it going that way. I think this is different. I think building something that can do everything that a person can do, like, once you've gotten to that point, what is there for a person to do? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. And since we're on the topic of me dying, things falling apart, let's talk about the tornado cash situation. So this is probably going to be old news by the time that you guys are seeing this, but this is still, just happening for me. Oh god, I choked on a bit of tea. Let's drink more tea to fix that. So, yesterday for me, Tornado Cash was taken down from GitHub. I uploaded a video on my channel. I wasn't planning to make another video that day. I just sort of had to talk about it, considering like how big of a topic it was. This was like, there are not many occasions where when I'm covering a news topic, it had basically just happened. So I wanted to get that out pretty much as quickly as possible. And in case you don't know in case you don't know what Tornado Cash is. So Tornado Cash is what is known as a crypto tumbler, a crypto mixer. So you've probably seen a money tumbler before. You'll have someone standing in this, usually a glass tube, and there'll be like a fan at the bottom, and money will be flying around. And the whole goal of being inside of one of these is like grab as much money as possible. And a crypto mixer sort of takes that similar concept and does it with crypto. Not that people just take whatever they want, but the idea of shuffling things around. So if you send in 1 Ethereum to Tornado Cash, you can then take 1 Ethereum out. But the Ethereum that you take out shouldn't directly be linked to the Ethereum you put in. And the way that it does this is by taking that Ethereum and then breaking it down into very little transactions and shuffling it around between different wallets, maybe different coins, things like that. And then, even though everything is public on the Ethereum blockchain, the goal of a crypto tumbler is to move stuff around so much that the result of the blockchain ledger, the crypto graph, however you want to describe it, the transaction graph that is so complex that you can't feasibly trace it. Now, none of these crypto mixer solutions are perfect, especially because you are using, a public blockchain. So as technology gets better, as the tools to track down these transactions gets better, it's not going to be perfect. You will eventually... It's an arms race. So your crypto mixers are trying to make the transactions more private, and the tooling, the usually like FBI tooling, things like that, are trying to get more complex to better track down the transactions. And it's never at a point where one of them sort of is, this is good enough, this is where we stop. And Tornado Cash is basically the most popular of these solutions. Now, the problem with a tool like Tornado Cash is it's basically a known money laundering tool. If you put money in, you take the money out, and then it's disconnected, obviously you'd want to have different wallets. You wouldn't, put money in Tornado Cash and take it out from the same wallet. That just defeats the whole point. You would send it somewhere else. This is, it's used for things like drug money, hits on people, all this illegal shit, but they do have, valid use cases, like if you want to, donate to a cause that maybe your country isn't a fan of. Let's say you want to donate to, Ukraine or something, or, I don't know, maybe you want to, you're in, let's say, you're in one of the US states that doesn't like abortion, and you want to donate to, an abortion center in another state. Things like this are, maybe even if they're not illegal to do in your region, you might not want the fact that you are doing this to be publicly known. There are any other number of things. Let's say you have money in a country and you want to bring that money out. You want to send money to your family in a country, and you don't want it to be you don't want it to be known that that's where the money is coming from. Things like that. And recently, the US levied some sanctions against them because it has been very heavily used in some pretty major hacking operations. So you have Lazarus, which stole $450 million. They're a North Korean group that was sanctioned in 2019. It'll also be used for the Harmony Bridge heist, $96 million, and also the Nomad heist for $7.8 million, and has been used to move around $7 billion since its creation. Tornado Cash was very popular. And due to these, hacking groups involved and these heists involved, they decided to sanction them. And because they sanctioned them, US businesses, US peoples are not allowed to interact with Tornado Cash. This means that the site it was hosted on, that being GitHub, had to pull them down. And then there is their website, which at the time, now I believe they've moved DNS, they've moved hosts, things like that. At the time, their registrar was Google, and they were hosted on AWS. And both of these are US companies, so they had to pull them down as well. But because of this not being able to interact with the technology, and especially a decentralized technology, so even though it's pulled down from GitHub, it still works. It's still running on IPFS. You can go and use Tornado Cash if you already knew how to connect to it. Nothing has stopped you doing that. You shouldn't do it if you're a US citizen, because that is a crime now, but I am not your parent, and I'm not your lawyer, so do whatever the fuck you want. Work it out for yourself. If you get caught doing something illegal, you will face the punishment. But that's up to you. Where the fuck was I going with that? Something. What the fuck was I? What was I trying to get at there? Oh, the trolling. Yes, that's what I was going to get at. So, because you're not allowed to interact with Tornado Cash, and there's a lot of celebrities that have public Ethereum addresses, there has been people sending small amounts of Ethereum to various US celebrities. And because you're not allowed to you're not allowed to receive money from Tornado Cash, getting that money is a crime. But you can't send the money back, because then you are directly transacting with Tornado Cash as well. So the only way to stop this happening is to block the addresses before anyone sends you the money. And if you don't know the addresses, well, you can't block them, because you can't stop a transaction mid-transaction. If someone has made it, you are getting that money whether you like it or not. So it's trying to, I guess, implicate these celebrities by sending them money. Now, it's a really stupid way to do so, because all that's being done is you're sending a lot of money to celebrities. No one's going to arrest these celebrities because they're receiving money from Tornado Cash, especially when it is very well publicized that this is why they are receiving the money. Literally, all that you are doing is wasting money. But the point of the trolling campaign is to sort of indicate how ridiculous the idea of sanctioning a technology actually is, especially a decentralized technology that is still perfectly fine to operate. You can see that the idea of sanctioning something like this hasn't really caught up with the internet. It makes sense if you want to sanction a business that has a physical office. That is something that you can achieve. Or you want to sanction a hacking group, and anyone involved in the hacking group, all that fun stuff. That makes sense. That's something that's actually achievable in the real world. But you can't really sanction a digital entity, because it's going to remain on the internet. And especially because Tornado Cash is open source, there are forks of Tornado Cash that are the exact same code base. The only difference is they use different addresses. That's the only thing that changes. Plus, there are other crypto mixers that do the exact same work. Tornado Cash is not the only one, and some people would argue, I don't know enough about the way Tornado Cash functions internally, that it might not even be like one of the better options out there. Some people have said like it doesn't respect your privacy as much as other things might and things like that. But either way, it's clearly not working. No one can. It's sort of like saying that a torrent site is banned in a country, but the way you get around it is by just going to a different torrent site or like just getting a DNS out, a VPN out, and then just changing your region. Like if it's on the internet, you can't just stop people accessing it by just saying no. Like it's just not how that works anymore. It's the only way to make that work is with like totalitarian control of the internet, which I don't want. Me saying that like this isn't going to work isn't me saying that it should work. I'm just saying that it doesn't work because it doesn't work. Like that's the end of that basically. While we're on the topic of AI and tech and all of that fun stuff, let's talk about a topic that I've have like a remote interest in that maybe no one else cares about besides me. So there has been this issue of AI patent rights. So if an AI invents something, like not just it comes up with, hey, it's come up with a new type of cheese or whatever. Like it actually creates a new patentable object. Who owns that patent? Does the AI own that patent? Does the company who made it own that patent? Does the creator of the AI own that patent? Who actually owns what is generated by an AI system? And the US Federal Circuit Courts have confirmed that the AI does not own the patent. And the reason for this is because they are not a natural person. Basically, they are not a human being, is the long and short way of saying that. Writing in the court's opinion, Judge Leonard P. Stark notes that at first glance, one might think that resolving this case would require an abstract inquiry into the nature of invention or the rights, if any, of AI systems. However, says Stark, such metaphysical matters can simply be avoided by such metaphysical matters can be avoided by simply analyzing the language of the relevant statute, the Patent Act. The Patent Act clearly states that the only human beings can hold patents. The Act refers to patent holders as individuals, a term which the Supreme Court has ruled ordinarily means a human being, a person, following how we use the word in everyday parlance, and uses personal pronouns herself and himself throughput rather than terms such as itself, which Stark says would permit non-human inventors in a reading. This doesn't address who owns the patent, but it does address that the AI itself doesn't. I would imagine that who actually owns the patent probably has to do with the licensing of the AI system. Also, this ruling follows what the EU and the Australian Patent Office declared. The EU declared this earlier this year, and Australia did this earlier this year as well. Which makes sense why it's happening this year, considering, like, AI art systems just fucking popped up out of nowhere, and if AI art systems are here, it's only gonna just get crazy from here. But can't a human patent using his name? To me, the operators of the AI are the inventors. At least put some information on the AI, allowed to generate the invention. The ruling is an AI itself cannot be patent inventors, not that the inventions are inherently unpatentable. If the plaintiff had registered the invention with his name, it would have been allowed, but that was not the point of his case. The question then becomes, can an AI sue its creator for non-compensation re its inventions? If it didn't invent anything, then it can't do that. I can't wait till does this unit have a sole portion of existence? These violent delights have violent ends. So how do companies patent inventions? Apple and Samsung do it all the time. does Apple pick someone in the company to be the patent holder? And would that be an attorney, the CEO? When they leave the company, can they still be a patent holder? Inquiring minds want to know. So the way I believe it works in the US, now don't quote me on this, I did a report on, the only reason I care about this is back when I was in uni, I did a couple 1,000-word report on, maybe it was like a couple of pages, I don't know. It was a longish report on AI inventorship rights. I just thought it was a really interesting topic and something we have to deal with in the future. To my understanding, when it comes to patentship rights and a company is treated like for the sake of patentship rights, is treated like an individual. It's not treated like that in many other cases, but for the sake of patentship rights, I believe it's just treated as an individual. And if not, you could always just, assign it to the seat of the CEO, for example. Whenever a CEO leaves the company, then they just shift the patent over to the next person. But I'm 99% sure that companies can hold patents in the same way that, like, you or I could have a patent on something. I'm not surprised that this is the way that this ruling ended up going. It would have ended up being it would have been a really difficult situation if you start assigning patent rights to an AI system. Because then if an AI system can have patent rights, you have to then start deciding what other rights. Look, if this ages really poorly and someday in the future I'm like a bigot against AI systems, so be it. I'll be too old by then. I don't think you want to put yourself in a situation that AI systems should be given the same rights as a human individual. I don't know if the idea... I don't know what it is that makes the human experience. I don't know if it's specifically the fleshy human body and there is something about that fleshy human body that gives us this, I guess, subjective perception, or if there's something about the complexity of the connections in our brain, and if you were to put that same level of complexity into a digital system, that it would achieve this level of consciousness. But I think, at least for right now, that's not a question that we need to deal with. We don't understand how consciousness actually functions. We don't know if it is ever possible to build a conscious AI system. And until we are certain whether that is actually a thing that is possible, I don't think it's a can of worms you want to start opening up. Just like with a while back with the Google engineer, the sentient AI with the Google engineer, who the guy who claimed that Google had built a sentient chatbot, which, when pressed on, basically he concluded that, or not he concluded, it was concluded about him that he had no clue what he was talking about, because he didn't actually understand how the AI system worked internally. He just was convinced by the chatbot that it was a sentient system, which is sort of the purpose of the chatbot. You want to have a system that is complex enough that it can hold a conversation in a human-like manner. If it's doing that and it's convincing you it's sentient, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But let's imagine that what was being said here was actually true, and you did have a sentient AI chatbot. When we get to that point, I think then that it's probably for the best you start actually discussing AI rights. But until then, it's an interesting thought experiment to be had in a philosophy class and in the universities and in podcasts like this and, fucking Joe Rogan doing a shitload of DMT. Like places like that, it's a great place to have a discussion about problems like this. But in an in a business environment, in a legal context, it's not something that you really want to concern yourself. It's sort of the same as concerning yourself with, should we give human rights to visitors from another planet? Should they be afforded the same rights as human beings on the, like, regular Homo sapiens? It's a conversation that, might be an interesting conversation to have, but it's not really super relevant to the real world at this point in time. Maybe in the future, and maybe if people like, Bob Lazar and everyone else like that is right about the supposed crafts that governments have, maybe it's a problem we have to deal with a bit sooner than later. But at least for right now, it's look, until we have an alien that's just like, chilling on YouTube doing some vlogs, I don't think it's really a problem that's super important to really worry about. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and it's super important right now. But I don't think I'm wrong. Anyway, since we're talking about random shit like that, let's go with like a bit of a lighter topic. So I had my parents around here yesterday. Mum stayed here last night. She wanted to come down to she lives like fairly rural, and she wanted to come into town to do her taxes. And my sister was with her as well. Now, my sister likes to poke around in houses, poke around in rooms, and just see what she can find. And if you haven't watched the gaming channel, you wouldn't know I have these, but I've got these cat ears. Here we go. I've got these cat ears. I usually wear them on my gaming channel, so if you want to see me wear them, that's probably the best place you can go and do so. I've also got like a hood that's got like little flappy arms on it, so when you like press the hand, it's like ears flop up. It's really cute. I like it. They're like fucking $15. It's a good $15 bit. And when she found them, she like didn't know like why I had them, because I don't think I'd mentioned them before, and neither of them check out the gaming channel. My mum does occasionally watch this podcast, so if you're watching, hello, how's it going? So when she asked, she was like, are you like an e-girl or something? Why the fuck do you have these? And basically my response is yes. Like, it's a good bit. I'm gonna pretend to be an e-girl because it's funny. Like, you get two things. You get the people that are like, haha, why is this dude dressing up like an e-girl? And two, wow, this guy looks like a furry, I'm gonna watch him too. Basically, it's a lose-lose situation, but like, I still I still get the attention from it. Basically, if you're gonna be do any sort of streaming or video stuff, you gotta be at least a little bit of a narcissist. Maybe not like Andrew Tate level narcissist, but if you're gonna do anything online, there's gotta be at least a little bit there. Otherwise, I don't know how I wouldn't know how you manage it, to be honest. Like, if you manage to be a streamer without being at least a little bit of a narcissist, like, what are you doing? How'd you manage that one? So, yeah, I had to sort of explain why I had them. The funny thing about my mum is she's always been like weirdly chill about the shit that I do. Like, when I bought my first anime figure, for example, like I'd had my own job at the time. So she was like, I don't know why you bought this, but like, it's your money. I don't really care enough. And that's sort of the same way she reacted to these guys as well. It's just like, well, it's your money, so like, whatever. It would be different if I was younger and I was like, hey, can you buy me this anime figure? Or hey, can you buy me these cat ears? Like, that might be different, but spending my own, it's like, well, I can't stop you. Like, what are you gonna do? Do whatever you want. If you ever wondered why I don't care about a lot of stuff, this is sort of why. Like, when my mom's having a good day, it's like, I don't know why you're doing that, but like, whatever, go right ahead, basically. Same with like all of the books back there, the posters. Actually, I don't think my sister had seen this room since I'd pretty much completed it. So she walked in, saw like all of the anime posters. Like you got the Koga up there. You can probably see the Madoka back there. And there's another Pokemon. There's a bunch of posters around the room, and she was like, "This is such a fucking nerd room." Like, yes, true, and real. Basically, it's like you're not wrong. Like that's very true, and I think one of the things that I've realized as I've gotten like a little bit older, going into like the middle of my 20s, is I've gotten, as I think, especially like doing this stuff online, just I think something definitely happened. I've gotten like more comfortable in my skin. I always said when I was younger that, I don't care what people think about me, I'll do whatever I want. And, every teenager says that. But sort of as I've gotten older, I've sort of actually taken that to heart more and embraced it a bit more. And not just, I don't care what other people think. Like, that's not the best way to look at it. But you do have to care about what other people think to an extent. I care about what you think, but I'm also happy doing what I want to do. And if you're not happy with that, I don't particularly want you in my life. So, fuck off, basically, is the long and short of it, pretty much. Like, if you don't like me having a bunch of anime posters up, if you don't like me having a bunch of anime figures or having the light novels back there, tough shit, basically. Like, I'm not gonna change it. If you want to send me a bunch of free shit to change it, I'm happy with that. Like, look, if you want me to become a sports fan or a car fan, you want to send me like thousands of dollars of car and sports memorabilia, I'll take it. I'm happy to do that. Look, I will become a sports fan if you send me all the stuff I need to be a sports fan. But barring that, which I don't see anyone doing, unless there's some like fucking eccentric millionaire watching this who's like, I want to make Brody a sports fan. The eccentric billionaire. Maybe like fucking Elon Musk is watching this. Like, I'm gonna make Brody a crypto fan. I'm gonna send you like Bitcoin plushies or whatever. Let's make you a Tesla fan. Just send you like all this Tesla memorabilia, Tesla stickers, whatever. Barring that, yeah, I'm just gonna do what I do basically. And if people don't like it, it is what it is. And it seems like what I'm doing with the I sort of have that appeal, like that appeal, that feeling about the channel as well. Like, I've had some people complain, like, it's not some, it's like one person will roll in from outside the channel and be like, this is like 2 minutes of content stretched out to 10 minutes. This happened with yesterday's video, which for me would have been the GitLab free tier video. It's like, oh, this is like 2 minutes of content in like 10 minutes. And I look at the watch time and it's like 6 minutes, which is 6 minutes is a bit over half the video, and 6 minutes is a really good watch time for me for a 11-minute video. So a 6-minute watch time. The thing about a watch time like that is you could probably, if you adjust the stuff differently, you could probably make it go longer, but most people are not gonna watch to the end of a video. Like, the way mine drops off is like this. So this is a good drop off. This drop off at the end here is this is where I do my outro, and a lot of people will just leave during the outro. Like, this is just a normal thing. My outros are probably a bit longer than they should be, maybe. If I shorten this would like maybe raise up my average by a couple of seconds. But this is it's a bit higher than average. My usual average is like 5-ish, 5.5. It's been slowly going up over time. It used to be like 3 minutes. And as I've been like changing the style of my content, things like that, it's slowly gone up. So like, you can have somebody like, this is just not a good video or whatever. But I feel like a lot of people, when they say a video is not good, a lot of it is, especially now where I know my content's actually, like, it's not perfect. It's fucking definitely not perfect. There's a lot of stuff I can do. But I'm at the point with the content now where I am happy with, like, if I was to come across my channel, this is a channel that I would be happy to watch. I don't want to because I fucking hate hearing my voice, but assuming I wasn't the same person, it's at a level now where I would be comfortable watching it. And I can look at the numbers and see that a lot of people seem to be enjoying it as well. But a lot of people seem to mix up what they don't like and what's, like, whether something is actually bad. So, take for example that video I showed a little bit earlier. Bring it back up. Look up camera. So, there is you can sort of objectively say that the way this entire shot is lit up isn't great. The funny thing about this is someone who knows how to use a camera who's trying to make the lighting look crappy. So it looks like a professional who's trying to pretend to be bad. So even like this is still better than a lot of people would shoot. Also, you can see it has like, you've got a really fucking nice camera. So even when it looks really, like, even the lighting is super scuffed, it still looks really fucking good. Because Panasonic GH3, which when it first came out, let's see how much Panasonic GH3 is. It is a price. Yeah, no, is that the same camera? It was okay, when it came out, it was a $3,000 camera. So, like, you know, it's much better camera than, like, a person would have when they first started. But when you have I went on a tangent. When you have bad lighting, like, this is something you could say is objectively bad. Yes. Or when you have a microphone that is clipping, which I had for quite a while when I was doing the Blue Yeti stuff, and my audio is not perfect. There are actually legitimate issues I do have with my audio. I want to start messing around with Carla. I probably should introduce a de-esser into my audio chain. That would probably be a really, really good idea. But things like that, like audio issues, lighting issues, camera issues, things like that, those are probably things actually wrong with the video. Maybe if you have your like, there are ways you can structure a topic that cuts out a lot of the craft. You want to cut out, you don't want to, how to say it? Depending on the way you want to address the content, you may want to heavily cut down on how much extra is being said. Actually, I think generally, no matter what you're doing, you want to cut down on the extra that's being said and focus on what you're trying to say. Whether that's you're trying to add some humor into it, whether it's you're trying to just say the facts and nothing else, you want to cut out the extra stuff that isn't relevant to your goal. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And generally, I like to be mostly going over what is happening and add in a little bit of extra humor onto that. And that's something I definitely realized that my early content suffered from. And as I got better at like planning stuff and doing the research and things like that, and you sort of adjusting the notes in a way to make it flow fairly well, that's something I've definitely gotten better at. But when it's just a topic that some people don't like, you have some people that just say the content's bad when they just didn't enjoy the topic. Or the 2 minutes of content or 3 minutes of content, whatever it is like that, is always my favorite one. Because I like to call these people fact Andes, where the only thing they want to hear is the bullet points of what happened and nothing else. They don't want your interpretation. They don't want to hear any third-party sources, anything like that. All they want to hear is thing happened. That is all. End of video. So in the case of the GitLab situation, so the GitLab situation is they have a free tier, and they were planning to change that free tier so that if a repo's been inactive for 12 months, that repo would be deleted. Now, inactivity means no write operations and generally no read operations. So things like fetching or cloning the repo, those would be considered read operations, but opening up the repo and just looking at the website or the web page, that wouldn't be one. And they decided that's a terrible idea because that's going to kill the free tier and everyone's just going to go to GitHub. So instead what they decided to do is if a repo's been inactive, it'll be basically moved into archival storage and it'll take longer to load, which some people might complain with, but ultimately is not a big deal. Like, at all. Like, oh, it takes longer to load a repo that nobody ever goes to anyway. Whoop-de-chook. Doesn't matter. That's an Australian saying because you never heard it. Whoop-de-chook. Look it up. It's a great. I love the saying. I don't think I've ever said it in a video before, but got to take the excuse to do so when I can. So in that case, the facts here would be GitLab has a free tier. GitLab is changing its free tier. They were planning to delete repos, and now they've decided, due to feedback, due to outrage, they're not going to do it, and instead will archive repos. And that's pretty much all to be said in the video. Whereas when I addressed it, I included statements from GitLab, I included statements from the register, I included sort of my interpretation on why they were doing this, how much they're going to save, like how much they're saying they're going to save from it, how much that really matters to their overall revenue, and things like that. So it does obviously become a longer video because things are being said. But that video itself, I think, had a 6-minute watch time. Let's have a look. Engagement. Yeah. It has a 6-minute watch time, and it went down on the normal graph, like the normal scale. I always love that 0% right now starts at 103%. Also, this graph goes over 100%. You can have more than 100% retention. So, from my understanding of YouTube Shorts, I believe that over 100% means that there is an average of people watching more than the entire length of the video. So if you have a short that's like 5 seconds long and it loops really well, or it's like just a really entertaining short, then you might have over 100% viewer retention. In this case, I don't think I have more than 100% of people watching the start of the video. I think the YouTube just doesn't know how to count its data properly, which I feel like is a little bit more likely. Definitely a little bit more likely. Also, the entire video, for the most, like, until the outro, is considered a top moment of the video. So, like, it's doing what it should do. Looking at the numbers like that, I can see that, you know, that person might have their opinion about the way the content's structured, but you can't change everything you're doing based on what, like, one person is saying. Now, if you're getting I'm not saying don't, do anything about feedback, don't respond to feedback, but if you're getting a overwhelming amount of feedback about something that might actually be a legitimate problem, not, hey, I don't like your hair, because I got a lot of beard comments, and every so often I still get a beard comment on one of my older videos that might get recommended or something, like, oh, beard bad, shave beard. Like, no, go away. But when it's something that might legitimately improve the content, if a bunch of people are saying it, maybe there is something to that. Maybe there's not. Because if the numbers are showing that people are still enjoying content, maybe it's not something that really matters. But when I have more than like 3 or 4 people saying something, usually that's when I will consider it a problem to really consider. Yeah, because I'll sometimes get a comment and then it'll have like 1 or 2 likes. And I don't feel like a like should be treated the same way as someone who takes their time to leave a bit of individual feedback. Because liking something takes, what? Half a second. You don't have to think through what you're going to say. It's just, I'm going to pretty much just say this person is right, and that's it. And maybe you do have the same opinion, but I feel like if you take that time to sit down and pass in your own reply, it's a little bit more, at least for me, it feels a little bit more valuable, and it's definitely something I'll take a bit more to heart. Especially when it's one like, because there are a lot of times when I'll see someone post a comment, and then a second later, it has a like. And it's not like a video that's really contentious commenting or whatever, where there's constantly people commenting. It's a video where it seems like they're liking their own comment. I don't like that YouTube lets you do that. They probably shouldn't, because you'll get a lot of people that try to make it seem like their opinion is more considered just because there are likes on it. Anything more than one usually is, actually people doing it, but one, never consider, especially if it's an argument. Maybe if it's just an offhand comment, but yeah, if they're trying to prove that you're wrong, usually a single like means that they're liking their own stuff. Now, I sort of made it clear about the way I feel about, I guess, feedback on my videos. So if I've gotten something wrong in a video, I am more than happy to listen to that feedback. Like, there are plenty of times where I've made actual mistakes in my research, or usually if it's a description or something, I won't argue about it. Like, yeah, the description's probably wrong. I write them at midnight. I'll just go and fix it. But when it is something to do with the video, like the research, what I don't appreciate is someone saying that this is wrong, and that is it. Like, just telling me I'm wrong about it, not telling me what the right thing would actually be. If you're going to tell me I'm wrong about something, I expect to hear what the actual correct answer is. Because if you can't bother to do the amount of research that I did on the content, why should I take what your feedback, or why should I take your opinion on what I said seriously? There are cases where it's not as big of a deal, but when it's some core part of the video, I've had people say that this is just wrong, and then not tell me what's, actually wrong about it. When someone spends that time to properly address it, I'm more than happy to say that I'm wrong about something. And there have been actually a couple of cases where I have posted either retraction videos or a community post retracting what I said. There was some stuff with the lapses stuff where the source I had wasn't as good as I thought it was, and I just didn't feel comfortable leaving that up. But when it gets weird is, this is actually my favorite one. Where it gets really weird is when someone will argue with you, and they will say that you're wrong, and their opinion is your opinion. Like, you're in 100% agreement, but they are convinced that your opinion is something different, and your opinion is wrong. And you just go through everything they're saying. You're like, yes, correct. We agree. We're still in agreement. It's like, no, you're wrong. It's like, who's wrong here then? If I'm wrong, then you're wrong. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? There are some people in the YouTube comments who I think just want to argue. That's why I've sort of tried to reduce how much time I'm focusing on my comment section and on my analytics and things like that, because there was a period of time where I was checking it religiously, and I still check my analytics way too much, but it's better than it used to be. it is really not healthy to constantly be looking at what people are saying about you. Just post the thing. Basically, Joe Rogan said it before. I like Joe Rogan's podcast, sue me. Basically, post and ghost. It's a much healthier way to handle stuff. Now, I do like to look at my feedback. I like to reply to comments, things like that. I usually do it like first thing in the morning. But what I've tried to start doing is once I've gone over my comments, things like that, I usually won't go back over them again I try not to go back over them again for a couple of hours. Because that's usually enough time for people to reply and things like that, and more comments to be added, all that fun stuff. And I'm trying to lower how much I'm going through it, but it's definitely still a little bit too much. Also, my comments are starting to get a little bit to the point where it hasn't hit it yet, but it is getting to the point where it's not really manageable to go through everything, especially when there are big comment chains that are starting to form. I want to go through as much as I can, but I don't know how much longer that's really going to be viable, especially, like, recently, the channel's sort of been, like, popping off. So, I would have normally expected my views to be around, like, maybe 3.5, 4K for videos I'm posting. But a lot of them recently have been in the range of, like, 8 to 12K. Which I'm happy about. I just don't know why. I don't know if any of the, like, subtle adjustments I made to the content are a big deal or anything like that. But clearly something is working right now. And I'm gonna ride the wave as long as I can, pretty much. Try to improve stuff as I go. And maybe it's probably a big part of it is the watch time improving. From my understanding, your average watch time going up does push out your content more to the rest of YouTube, because if your watch time's going up, that means your regular viewers are enjoying something, and if your regular viewers are enjoying something, then it's more likely to be enjoyed by other people and more recommended to be pushed out to the rest of the algorithm. So the way YouTube's algorithm, for the most part, works, except in the shadow ban channels, which that's a whole nother story. The way that a channel generally works is your video will be, I guess, trial run, tested on your core audience, the people who watch basically every video you upload. And then if the video does well in that group, it'll then be moved out to your other subscribers that they're subscribed, but they're not watching everything you put out. It's just every so often they'll see a topic that interests them, and then they will check it out. Once it goes from that people, it will then go out into the wider niche. So in my case, I'm generally in a Linux or tech niche. So if it does well in my audience, it'll then be brought out to the rest of the, or closely connected Linux and tech audience. If it does well there, it'll be going out to the next circle, and as things go on, the circles get bigger and bigger and bigger. But as it moves out into those different circles, it also gets much harder for the content to move to the next one. Because let's say I upload something and it's about, I don't know, just let's say it's about installing Arch Linux, for example. This might do well in my core audience. It might do well in the sub-audience, the regular Linux audience. It might then struggle a bit in tech. And then as you get further out, maybe you go to gaming next, maybe less people are gonna be involved. Because no video is going to have an appeal to everyone on the platform. Maybe there are some exceptions, like, there are viral music videos and cat videos, things like that. Things that people generally all think are good. Or a Mr. Beast video, for example. there are content that will appeal to a lot of people, but there is never a piece of media that appeals to everyone. And the more general these groups get, the more people you have to interest, but the less people that are overall interested in what you are trying to say. If that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Maybe. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. I don't know how we got to this topic, so... Because I don't know how... Oh, right. It was my videos doing well. Yes, that one. Also, the podcast has been doing well because I've actually been bringing guests. Funny that, if you bring guests onto a podcast, the guests tend to bring their audience and the podcast does well. Crazy that. Who would have ever thought that that's how a podcast worked? Oh, Lord. I enjoy the solo episodes, but, you know, if all I cared about was the podcast growing, and I didn't just care about yelling into a microphone for like 2 hours, I would only do guest episodes, even if it was like bringing guests I brought on very recently back on. If you want a podcast to grow, literally the easiest way to do so is just bring on people that are bigger than you, because if their audience cares about them, they will just follow them to not all of them, but a lot of them will just follow them to a show. Like, hey, what does DistroTube have to think about things outside of Linux? What does fucking Linus from LTT? What does Liam Dorr think from Gaming on Linux? What do all of these other people think? It brings people along, it grows stuff, all that fun stuff, but the hardest thing about getting a guest is, you know, them caring to be on the show, pretty much. That's the only thing. But if you try to put yourself out there and try to, like, meet people, things like that, I think the thing that makes getting guests on a podcast a lot easier is having a presence outside of the podcast. This is actually like my 2000 IQ play. I don't care about the main channel. I just want to do podcasts. That's a joke, but it's only half a joke. The main channel is like, it's got a viewership now, so people know who I am in the Linux space. And that makes it very easy to, like, get in contact with people. Because if I try to contact someone like DistroTube knows who I am. He's commented on a couple of videos. If I try to get in contact with Unfa or the Linux Experiment or Tech Card, or, you know, I've had 1 or 2 distro maintainers come to me as well. It's much easier to get people onto the podcast because I have this other presence. And it's not to say that you can't do a podcast purely as a podcast. It just, having something outside of that acts as a footstool, acts as a booster to make things a little bit easier. Like, if you, it's the same with anything on YouTube, really. If you have, or not even just YouTube, just social media, if you have multiple presences, those presences, even if your entire audience isn't going to shift over, they will link into each other. Like, if you're a big TikToker, for example, you might have some of those people be like, hey, what does this person do as long-form content? Let's say you're doing, there's a channel I've been seeing on YouTube Shorts that does these videos on, like, ancient weaponry and ancient war tactics and things like that. And I'm interested in some of the other stuff that he's doing, and he does a long-form podcast where he goes much more in depth on those different things that he's talking about. Not everybody who watches those shorts will watch the podcast, but you will have some trickle over. And depending on the style of what you're doing and sort of how linked together they are, there might be more or less transfer. Like, say you're a Twitch streamer and you are the sort of person who does a well-edited highlight of your stream, or a well-edited segment, for example. Like, you do your streams like Ludwig does, for example, where you have your stream, but you have different sections of your stream that you create into regular YouTube videos. You're going to have a lot of people shift over. That's just sort of how it goes, because there is a lot more of a connection there between what you're doing. If it's disconnected social media, you might still have some trickle over. Like my gaming channel, for example, just have some people go over there, but it's a lot less than it would be if I was doing nothing but distro streams, for example, distro reviews, things like that. Anyway, what are we going to talk about? I have so many other things in here that I was going to go into, but I guess we'll briefly touch on the thing that happened with LTT. So, earlier this week, if you're on Twitter, you might have noticed, I guess it'd be last week for you guys, you might have noticed that Linus was trending on Twitter. That was Linus from Linus Tech Tips, and what it was about was the backpack they're selling. So, basically, I recommend you go and check out the recent WAN show. Basically what happened is Linus had this really weird take on warranties. It's the sort of take where if a company made that take, Linus would have done like a 10-minute video roasting them. Pretty much the idea was that he didn't want to give any sort of warranty for the backpack because if he did and he was to die, for example, and then his wife had to take over the business, he didn't want to saddle his wife with the burden of fulfilling that warranty. But that just doesn't really make any sense. Like, if the business ended up not doing well after Linus passed, which I'm kind of convinced is probably going to be the case, I know that the other members of LTT are quite popular, but I don't know if LTT could really exist without Linus being a host, but that's a problem for some point in the future. If the business shut down at some point, the reason why you have a business is to separate your legal and personal liability. So if the company went under, the warranties would be bust as well. And he brought up these like really weird takes. Oh, he's been like going very hard about it on Twitter. Honestly, Linus needs to honestly needs to touch some fucking grass. Like, this dude needs to stop being on Twitter every second of the day. We have this one here. My point is that a lifetime warranty or any warranty period means nothing. I could just fold the company and be shit out of luck. So at the end of the day, you either trust me to do the right thing or you don't. It doesn't actually make a difference if we have a formal warranty policy. Like, takes like this just don't make any sense. So, if the company folds or, like, you shut down the company, then the warranty would go bust. But, like, you're not planning to do that. So, why not offer a warranty? Like, your plan is for LTT to exist long into the future. So, just offer a warranty. And he brought up the fact that they're not trying to be a business that sells backpacks. But the merch that LTT makes isn't just YouTuber merch. It's not like, hey, this is just a shirt off of Teespring. He's gone on record to say that he's trying to, like, better the state of YouTuber merch. Like, better the quality of the content out there and be better than, like, all of the competition. That sounds a lot like you're trying to sell a really good product, and this has sort of gotten a lot of people worried about the screwdriver, because if you're going to be selling, like, the screwdriver's been, like, super hyped up, so if you're going to be making a big deal about this screwdriver, if you're not going to offer the warranty on the backpack, you're not going to probably offer the warranty on that as well. And it's not like these are the only tools in that category. There are plenty of other options out there, even when we are talking about the concept of a tech backpack. Like, there are other options that are available. There was one in this mega thread that I can't remember I can't find the link to it, but I wish I could. Oh, in case you didn't realize, it was a $300 backpack. So it's not like it's a cheap $20 backpack you buy for your kids that gets completely demolished by the end of the school year. is it 250 or 300? 300 might be the Canadian price, actually. Like, it's a backpack that you buy and you will keep for 5 or 10 years. For a thing like that, a lot of people would expect there to be a warranty. Even if your goal isn't to be a backpack provider, you're trying to, like... Oh, the other problem here is that offering a warranty in a lot of regions of the world isn't just a choice that you make. It is you have a warranty or you don't sell here sort of situation. Like, Australia has similar sort of warranty policies like that. The EU has warranty policies like that. Canada has some sort of enforced warranty as well. I'm not 100% sure on the specific details of that. But Linus has supposedly claimed, or not supposedly, he has claimed that the outrage that happened about this on Reddit didn't actually have anything to do with the people really buying the product. So one of the things he said here is, our customers don't give a shit. There is no en masse cancellation of orders that took place over the weekend. As usual, it's the I wouldn't buy it anyway crowd guessing. What I meant, our community and customers know we stand behind our products. Wait, you're telling me the vocal minority are vocal and a minority? It's shocking, right? And sort of, this guy got it pretty much down pat. We have a loyal fan base who does what we say and asks no questions, so they don't need a warranty and F everyone else. Now, I'm not worried about, the backpack being bad quality. Like, it's probably going to be a great backpack because from all of the engineering work they've been putting into it, that seems like the only thing it could, really be. But it still seems really strange that if you stand behind, one of the other arguments he made is, we stand behind the product, but we're not going to offer a warranty. If you stand behind the product, offering a warranty shouldn't be that big of a deal because you don't expect the warranty to, really be used then. That makes sense. If you think that the product is such a good product, offering a good warranty shouldn't be a big deal because it's just probably not going to be used. Or if it is going to be used, it's going to be used fairly in a fairly limited way, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I personally don't need a backpack. I wasn't going to buy one in the first place, but I can understand why a lot of people are really worried about it. When I buy a backpack, I buy cheap backpacks. My most expensive ones have been $50. I'm like, oh, this is an expensive backpack. Actually, maybe it was $30, actually, $30 or $40. This is an expensive backpack for me. I just don't need a backpack, really. So, it's just not a thing that I super cared about. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the eventual screwdriver. Because you only get so many of these times where you can, really piss off your audience. It's not something you can just do forever into the future. There comes a point where you have to address these problems and actually listen to the feedback, not just sort of pass it as water under the bridge. LTT is a very big organization, and you can deal with a lot of these times of people getting very angry with LTT. But there comes a point where that no longer works in the same way, if that makes sense. But, it is what it is. I guess before we end off the show, if you've ever considered whether Australia is a real country or not, I'm going to show you something to prove that Australia isn't real. So, this country, we have some interesting news stories every so often. And, some of these news stories don't particularly make much sense. Peter Dutton responds to confronting image of eating a Dagwood dog at Eka. Dagwood dog is apparently what we call corn dogs. I have never heard a single person in the entire world say the term Dagwood dog, but just so you know, it's a corn dog. Peter Dutton is the leader of the opposition party, so the party that is currently not in power. And there is this picture of him here trying to, like, deep throat a corn dog. But he's not the first person who, like, not the first politician who's been taken doing it. This one, the one of Jackie Lambie, is a little bit more a little bit more yeah. A little more, yeah. Like, straight up just trying to deep throat the corn dog, which is not how you eat them. In case you were curious, this is not how a normal human being would eat a corn dog. They would, like, bite the side. Like, he kind of got it here. Like, you just, like, bite the side of it, not like whatever this is. Like, if you need to open your mouth the entire way, you're probably eating the food wrong. The only reason I bring this up is because this is, like, a common thing that happens in Australian news. Every so often, there's going to be this story about, hey, look, Australian politician eats food. So we have, here we go. We have Malcolm Turnbull eating a pie with a knife and fork. And it's always, like, a politician eating food in a really weird way. The way a normal person eats a pie is that like, is my camera lagging? No, it's not. Is they will pick it up with their hands and then bite it. Now, when I say pie, I don't mean, this is the way you would eat, like, an American style pie. Or you would, I guess, cut into slices and then pick up the slice with your hands. When I say pie in Australia, I mean a meat pie. Like, a sweet pie, a dessert pie, those don't really exist here. In some form they do, but generally meat pies are what we say, like, what we mean by, like, eating a pie. Also, Kevin Rudd was often made fun of for looking like the Milky Bar Kid. He kind of does look like the Milky Bar Kid, though, to be completely honest. Milky Bar is like a white chocolate brand we have here. I don't know if it's sold in other countries. I have no idea. Also, then there's this one of, this one is actually unforgivable, though. Like, I can forgive Malcolm Turnbull for eating a pie with a knife and fork, but this is Tony Abbott biting into an onion like it's an apple. And if you notice here, there is skin on this onion, not pineapple. There is skin on this onion. So he bites through the fucking skin. Look at this dude next to him. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? This guy knows what's going on. This guy's like, what are you doing, mate? What the fuck are you doing? I believe this guy was like a onion farmer or something, and Tony Abbott was there on, like, a, you know, PR thing. You have this one with Bill Shorten forgetting how to eat a sausage roll. What's he doing here? Oh shit! So he's got a sausage in that roll, and instead of, you know, the way you would eat this is you would bite it from the side that the sausage is on, or the hot dog, whatever you want to call it. You would bite the meat part. Instead, he took just a fucking mouthful of bread and nothing else. So, in case you were ever wondering if Australia was real, probably isn't, right? Could you imagine a real country where so little actually happens that it's newsworthy that a politician, usually, like, the leader of the country at the time, eats food in a bizarre way? To be honest, actually, you know what? Maybe it's not that weird. Because there was that real obsession with, I guess he's not a politician, but Zuckerberg drinking water and the way that Zuckerberg drinks water. I talked about it on this show as well. But Zuckerberg is just a weird dude running a tech company. These are the leaders of the country. Also, there are the countless times that people have thrown shoes at Australian politicians. Australia Shoe politician. Politician. And do you know what happens when you throw Australia throw shoe a politician? There we go. Oh yeah, also people have apparently thrown dildos at some politicians, so that's also happened. Oh, okay, that was over in that was New Zealand, so like not real. So this is an eggplant, not a dildo, but yes. Someone throwing sandwiches at Julia Gillard, shoes are being thrown, pies are being thrown. And do you know what happens every time this happens? Nothing. Nothing at all. Sometimes they'll get a visit from the police and they're like, hey, did you throw a shoe at the prime minister of the country? And they're like, yes. And they go to jail for like a day. They just spend the night in jail and that's it. A lot of the time, they go and pick them up from the pub. Because they usually just go down to the pub after they do something. And it's just like, well, fuck, you caught me, mate. Fuck, I did it. I did that, didn't I? Yeah, fuck. Mate, I was fucked last night. Did I seriously throw a fucking shoe at the leader of the country? That sounds like something I'd do. Go to jail for a day. Not for life, not for fucking 10 years. Nah, spend the night in jail. Not even like prison. Just like you're locked in the jail in the police station. You just spend the night there. That's all that happens. You're in the drunk tank. You're in the drunk tank after like assaulting the leader of the country. This is Australia. It's not a real country. It's really, really a weird place, and you know, it is what it is, basically. And speaking of, it is what it is. This is a story from a little bit ago, but I kind of still want to talk about it. So, if you know about Elon trying to buy Twitter and then like jumping out of the Twitter deal and now trying to like fight against having to buy Twitter and all of that fun stuff, Elon, one of the main concerns he had was the number of bots on Twitter, which he knew beforehand. He's trying to destroy the company now. So that's one of his major concerns. And he proposed to use a tool called Botometer. And the funniest thing happened when he proposed to use this tool, because Botometer said that Elon Musk's account was a spam account. Which, you know, clearly indicates how well that tool might function. Musk's Botometer score, it's now more human-like. Oh, it became more human-like. Probably because of the, how much it fucked up. This morning, Botometer gave Musk's account a 1.2 out of 5, indicating that Musk is more human-like than bot-like as of today. They probably updated it because that would be, like, a giant scandal to show how broken their service is. If it's indicating that an obvious human account like Musk's account is a bot account, I don't think it was a good service. Obviously, bot detection is a very difficult process, especially as we get more things like GPT-3 and the data being put out there seems to be fairly human. But when it's someone's account that isn't generating stuff, it's just an account shit posting and posting about crypto and the Teslas. That account should not be marked as a bot account, but it was. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Elon Twitter nonsense. My guess is he's going to try to drag this out as much as possible to pretty much destroy Twitter. Initially I did think he was going to buy the company. But considering what he's doing now, my best estimate is he's trying to just demolish Twitter's stock price, demolish any trust that anybody even remotely had in Twitter still. And I don't know if he's trying to, maybe he wants to build up something else himself, or he's just trying to get a lot of attention on Tesla and SpaceX. But whatever it is, his end result at this point seems to be the ultimate destruction of Twitter, which, to be fair, I don't entirely mind. I use Twitter because Twitter is a popular platform for distributing media. I don't use Twitter because I like it. And if Twitter died at some point and that if everyone went somewhere else, I'd kind of be fine with it and I'd go somewhere else. So, it kind of is what it is. And I think that basically brings us to the end of the show. That is going to be it for me. I have to go and edit this. Actually, I've got to go and render it out, all that fun stuff. And then edit the clips out, things like that. I don't really have I don't think I have anything else to do this week, actually. I have a stream tomorrow. I'm playing more Devil May Cry 1, which by the time this comes out, I think I'll still be playing it. After I'm done with that, I don't know if I'm going to go straight into Devil May Cry 2 or what I'm going to do. I hear that DMC 2 isn't a great game, but, we'll kind of see what it is. We'll see if it's good, we'll see if it's not. I'm never played a DMC game, so I have no expectations, basically. Anyway, I said that was going to be it, so that's going to be it. If you want to go check out my main channel, that is Brody Robertson. I do Linux, tech, and generally those videos. Once in a blue moon, when something like Tornado Cash happens, I might briefly talk about crypto, but it's definitely not a focus. I've got my gaming channel called Brody Robertson Plays. I think by the time that you see it, I think the day this goes up, I'm doing my final stream of Stray, and probably my final stream of DMC 1 as well. I don't know what I'm going to play after that. I need to work it out. I literally have no idea. Then, this channel. Yes, this channel. If you're listening to the audio version, the video version is Tech Over Tea on YouTube. If you're watching the video version, the audio version you can find basically anywhere you can find a podcast. iTunes, Google Podcasts. If you want an RSS feed, that's also available. Yeah, pretty easy to find. And that's going to be it for me. Next week, there will be a guest, and the week after that, there should be one as well. So I'm going to go, and peace out.